But as leaders, we must be willing to change our perspective. If we look at Paul's life, we look at the Samaritan woman's life, it wasn't about Jesus changing their lives. It was about Jesus changing their perspective. You change your perspective, you change the game. I remember I was a young leader trying to figure this thing out. And I was in college, and I don't know what you guys' college experience was, but I had like an eclectic group of roommates. I remember my first semester in college, I'd go in, University of Central Oklahoma, right outside of Oklahoma City. I'd go in, my roommate's laying on his bed. He looks at me and says, "What's up, blood? Are you a Crip?" I'm thinking, no, I'm a psychology major, man. Knocked on the RA's door. You got to get me up out of here. You know what I'm saying? And so then the next year, I had a roommate. His name was Johnny, and he was a country boy from a rural town called Ponca City. And I remember Johnny dipped tobacco. And he would take like an empty 20-ounce bottle of pop, you know what I'm talking about? And he put toilet paper in the bottom of it. Some of you know what I'm talking about. And he'd spit in it. That's just nasty. And if you're in here and you do that, you're nasty and you're going to hell. Lord, forgive me. I don't know, you probably won't go to hell, but I don't know, Mark, you might at least find yourself sweeping the floors of heaven or something. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so here's the deal. You know, in the Bible Belt, even gang members go to church. So I'd find myself going to church with all these guys on the weekend. And so I'd go to the rural country church with Johnny. I'd go to my gang banger roommate buddy's church. I'd go to the highly Pentecostal church. I went to every kind of church you could imagine. And I remember one Sunday, I was going to the black church. And so I needed to be sharp and clean, right? And so the day before, I went to the shoe shine man at the local shoe shine place. At the car wash, his name was Slim. He was slim, obviously. He was like 6'4" with the Jerry curl. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know what a Jerry curl is, because none of you are laughing, watch Coming to America. You know what I'm saying? So I'm getting my shoes shined by Slim. And as I'm getting my shoes shined, I begin to talk to Slim about kind of looking for a church at the time. And he begins to tell me about his church. And the more he told me about his church, the more intrigued I became. So finally I just said, "Slim," I said, "is your church a black church or a white church?" And no sooner than I could get those words out of my mouth, he said, "Young man, that's the stupidest question you can ever ask." He said, "It's not a black church. It's not a white church. It's God's church." And at that moment, I really felt like God seared it into my heart that I needed to do something about this. I didn't know what it was. We didn't end up going to Slim's church, and years later, my wife and I, we kept getting invited to church by this family. They invited us a whole soccer season, said it's a church that, that you should try out. It's different than the church you grow up in. You can dress down, this and that. And so I said, all right, I guess we'll check it out. We just knew it as the church around the street from us that held up traffic. You know what I'm saying? This was about 12 or 13 years ago. It was livechurch.tv. So I remember we walked in the church that day. And when we pulled in the parking lot, I remember when they said dress down, I thought maybe I could unloosen my tie. You know what I'm saying? It was fully dressed down, like shorts and T-shirts, kind of like how y'all are dressed today. You know what I'm saying? So I remember going into church. I remember opening the sanctuary doors, and it's like smoke and haze, like a full-blown Van Halen concert. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what is this? And so we go, and we like the kids' ministry. And so each week we kept going, and we just had this nagging question. And the question was this, do we feel welcome here? Because at this time, some 12 years ago, there wasn't any other families that looked like us. The family that invited us went to a different service. And so we just kind of had that nagging question. And I'll close with this. I remember one day, as clear as it is today, that Pastor Craig Groeschel was reading an email that he received from an African-American lady. And she was talking about how she was treated at the church. And obviously it was pretty bad in her experience. And I remember he was taking this 99.999% white congregation to the woodshed. He said, "You will not act like that. If that's how you act, if that's how you think you're a racist, you need to repent, and there's the door." That day when the service let out, our whole road parted like the Red Sea. Because statistically, my wife wrote that email. You know what I'm saying? Hey, brother, how you doing?